I still remember that morning. The frost clinging to the window, the smell of cinnamon coffee drifting through the quiet kitchen, and the phone call that froze my heart colder than the December air. "Mom, we're not coming this year," my daughter-in-law said. "The kids have other plans." Just like that. No apology. No warmth. Just emptiness. I stood there, my old plaid robe wrapped tight, clutching the phone like it could explain why my son hadn't called himself. I had already baked their favorite pecan pie, hung the stockings with their names, even placed extra blankets on the beds. The house was ready, but not for silence. When I hung up, the house seemed to sigh. The only sounds were the ticking clock and the soft hum of the heater. I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the empty chairs, remembering Christmases filled with laughter, paper flying everywhere, and my son sneaking extra fudge before dinner. Now, the fudge sat untouched. By noon, the snow had started. Big, fluffy flakes, the kind that make the world look peaceful, even when your heart isn't. I thought about driving into town, maybe volunteering at the church, but the roads looked slick and my old car didn't like the cold any more than I did. So I just sat, wrapped in my favorite shawl, fire crackling weakly, pretending not to cry. Then, a knock. When I opened the door, there stood my neighbor, Sam, flannel jacket, Santa hat tilted sideways, holding a casserole dish that smelled like heaven. "Heard your family couldn't make it," he said gently. "Figured no one should eat alone on Christmas." Behind him, his wife waved, holding a plate of cookies. Before I knew it, I was sitting at their table across the street, laughter bouncing off the walls, dogs barking underfoot, and carols playing from an old radio. They didn't treat me like a guest. They treated me like I belonged. At one point, their little granddaughter crawled into my lap, tugged at my scarf, and said, "You smell like Christmas cookies." I laughed for the first time all day. Later that night, back in my quiet house, I didn't feel so cold anymore. I looked around, the twinkling lights, the half-eaten pie, the photos on the mantel, and I realized something. Family isn't always the ones who share your blood. Sometimes it's the ones who show up when others don't. So this year, I stopped waiting for invitations. I started opening my door. The next morning, I left a pie on Sam and his wife's porch, still warm from the oven, wrapped in a red bough. The note said, "You turned my cold Christmas warm again." Sometimes, heartbreak gives you room to find new love, the kind that's neighborly, unexpected, and real. And if this story warmed your heart even a little, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories like this, and remember, someone out there needs your kindness this Christmas. Red Heart.